Now more out of Turkey on our breaking news story, where the Interior Minister says a Turkish aerospace company has been targeted in a terror attack in the capital Ankara. These are the pictures from the scene. Casualties have been reported. I'm now joined by Galip Dele, a senior consulting fellow at Chatham House in London. Galip, great to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time today. We're getting these images in of what seems to be an active scene right now. The Interior Minister calling this a terrorist attack. What more do you know?
Well, thus far we are following the news. It's clearly an horrific act of terrorism, but the crucial here is the timing of it. I mean, obviously, any terrorist activities means to create terrorism, create casualties, create violence. But the timing is crucial. The timing is sensitive because just recently, yesterday, the leader of the Nationalist Action Party, who is a coalition partner of Erdogan government, spoke about a new Kurdish opening, quite a daring Kurdish opening again. The countries are once again talking about a new Kurdish opening. Therefore, the political logic behind this terrorism is clearly to undermine this process, to prevent a political settlement of the Kurdish issue. Thus far, we don't know which group is responsible for it. Obviously, for Turkey, there's usually the usual suspects when it comes to terrorism of that nature, whether it could be the PKK or other far left organization. Previously, Turkey has been also very much victim of the ISIS types radical terrorist organizations. But the picture that we are receiving from the crime scene, from the scene, indicates probably it's one of these far left or the PKK or similar terrorist organization. But thus far, we don't know the identity of the group behind it. But the political logic is the crucial one. The political logic is basically to prevent or undermine any possible opening on the Kurdish issue and any possible settlement of the Turkey's long-standing Kurdish issue, and particularly the call for PKK to lay down arms in Turkey is growing. Even the pro-Kurdish party is actually making similar demands. Whoever is behind this operation clearly has a very clear political goal, which is to prevent this. And that's why it's crucial, basically, irrespective of this terrorist act, the resolve to take political steps on this front should be actually strengthened rather than weakened in order not to give into the terrorist goals and terrorist aims.
Galip, I just need you to stand by for me. We've got Salma Abdelaziz, who's been tracking the story for us. Salma, what more can you tell us?
Yes, so again, a very active scene. You have medical workers there, police there, security services there, all trying to, of course, contain the situation, make sure that this is no longer an active situation, and of course, come to the aid of those wounded, of those potentially killed. I want to read you some of the reaction that we have so far from Turkish officials. This one from Ankara's mayor, who says he was saddened by the terrorist attack that targeted Turkish aerospace industries. He goes on to say he wanted to wish God's mercy upon the dead and a speedy recovery to those wounded by the attack. It's Turkey's Interior Minister, who also commenting on this attack, saying, unfortunately, we have martyrs and injured people in the attack. It was the Interior Minister who posted this on X, alerting the news media internationally to what's happening there on the ground. But so far, of course, we don't know how many people are injured. We don't know how many people are wounded. What I do want to show you that we have at this time is social media video that we've just verified, if we have that, to show our viewers. And what it shows is first an explosion at this facility, at the Turkish Aerospace Industries facility. We have geolocated this video. We know that this is the location that is being shown on that video that you can see on your screen now. There is an explosion. And after that explosion, there is an individual. That individual appears to be carrying a weapon. Unclear who that individual is or what their role is, but you are looking there at the moments of the attack, again, in video found on social media, but also geolocated, analyzed by CNN. Really, really scary scenes that you're looking at there. You can see it's a heavily fortified building, big walls, big security. So how was this carried out? I know your previous guest was talking about potential motives. Of course, the PKK will be top of mind fighting ISIS and other terror groups will be top of mind. And I also want to alert our viewers that we are actually expecting to see President Recep Tayyip Erdogan speak shortly because he's at the BRICS summit. He's expected to show up alongside President Putin. You can expect reporters will be asking questions, so we may get a comment very soon.
Yeah, Salma, thank you so much for that update. And I know that you're working really hard to try and get more information as it comes in. Galip, I want to come to you again. And you were talking about the potential motive, what this means politically. But when we're seeing this explosion in these images that we're showing right now, this aerospace company that was struck, and usually these kind of buildings are very fortified, as Salma had alluded to. The question is how come Turkish intelligence didn't pick up these type of threats and risks. Turkey has seen other terrorist attacks in the past. Salma also said that this is obviously going to create a lot of fear. Could you give us a sense of what this means for Erdogan politically, and also what this means for the safety of people in Ankara and the threats that clearly, like this one, not intercepted?
Well, dealing with terrorism is not an easy task, and unfortunately, in the countries where you have the best security measures in places like, we are in London, that has been also subject to many terrorist activities, or Paris, or many other countries. So there is no a direct solution where you can stop all the terrorist activities completely. But nevertheless, there will be quite significant discussion whether there was security breaches, security lapses, and the responsible agents, the responsible actors for this. The Turkey is not the first time that is being targeted by the horrific terrorist attacks. Unfortunately, Turkey has been subject to such terrorist attacks for a long time. So therefore, there will be all these questions, and politically that will be discussed. So there will, all these questions, I think, will be settled soon. But most importantly at this stage is the terrorist acts, but also the identity of the terrorist groups, because that will tell us quite significant about the motives behind it, and that will also shape the public discussion and political discussion around it. Because if it is an ISIS attack, that is different things. If it is a PKK attack, that will have different implications. So in terms of the security implication, we might talk about, how the Turkey will be further discussing how to prevent such future attacks. But for political implications, it's crucial that we know also the identity of the group that has carried out this terrorist attack.
Yeah. What are you expecting to hear from President Erdogan?
Oh, sorry. Well, I think the first one from the President Erdogan is whether by that time we'll have any clarity about who is behind these terrorist activities, and secondly, obviously the many condemnation, many vowing to make sure that these terrorist organizations are paying the price that will come. But I think we have to wait first and foremost to really have the full picture of the terrorist groups that is involved, because, as I said, that will be very crucial to define the government's responses. If it is, again, if it is a far left terrorist organization, it will be different than if it is the PKK, because if it is the PKK, that will have an implication about the recent move towards, once again, to take a political steps on the Kurdish issue and to take steps to convince the PKK to lay down its arms in Turkey and to basically put an end to the conflictual phase between Turkey and the PKK for all. So this is crucial, and I think the initial assessments that Erdogan will very much focus on obviously the casualties, probably the number of the casualties. We still don't know how many people have lost their lives and then the injured. So that will be the first on the top of his mind, and the necessary steps there. But secondly, it will come to the response to the terrorist attacks, and that will require what assessment that Turkish security and intelligence offices will have in terms of the terrorist groups and the motives behind it, and also the international connection, the possible international connection that this terrorist attack might have, because usually the terrorism is not just a national phenomenon, it has the international linkages. So we will have quite a comprehensive discussions, and also given the fact that the target is the aerospace industry, which is a very strategically significant place, and Turkey has a very growing defense industry. Turkey has quite a strong defense industry, so that will also raise whole another question about the protection of these sites, about the protection of these companies. So we will have quite many discussions that will focus on different themes, from how to prevent similar attacks in the future, the political implication of it, the security implication of it, and the regional and international implication of it, depending on whether Turkey sees also a foreign hand behind such a terrorist activities.